your question, I posted in the YouTube, the Office Space line.
The Facebook?
I'm sorry, the Facebook, the two chicks at the same time.
Glad to see you back fresh from retreat.
I'm a sinner. I'm a sinner. So I've noticed that certain words have become awkward that are not traditionally awkward or were not at one point awkward. For example, the word thirst.
Yeah.
That's an awkward word now.
Something completely different now.
And another one that people hate now is the word moist.
Everyone's hated moist for a long time, though.
I don't know. Good morning, Scott.
It has gotten worse, though.
Good morning, Byron.
I agree with Franz. It's gotten worse, but I would argue that it's always been bad. It's just gotten worse.
So the topic we're talking about this morning is about the stormwater fee, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and
is it
more
Section 408? Is that what it's called? Or is it
Federal Code of Evidence 408, which was improperly stated at the council meeting.
Ooh.
I had the opportunity. I was talking to our mutual friend Twala, and I had the opportunity to listen to the entirety of his talk.
Wait, who?
Kira
Twala.
Twala.
It's not Twala.
Twala.
Not Melville. That was the cemeteries one. That's the, yeah, I got to find it now.
So I was at St. George last night.
Yeah.
For their service in candlelight. And Natalie was talking about how Mercy's like over the top. It's all about money and pretension. And I go, Natalie, you got two jumbotrons in the middle of your church.
Yeah, Sandoval. Yes.
And she goes, well, I mean, and I said, you're so modern in here. You don't even have a real organ. You have like an electric speaker organ. And I was just going down the road.
St. George has always had a skewed view of Mercy.
It is a beautiful church. They're both beautiful churches. They're both unique in their own little ways. And there's a candlelight visual. There was a candlelight visual in there's apparently a cemetery behind St. George. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look, you don't understand a man until you walk a mile in his Gucci shoes.
Well, but the thing is, like, that Mercy haters have hated on Mercy long before Cleo.
People hate on Aloysius. You know the only one that people don't hate on? St. Jude. Nope, I've never heard anybody hate on St. Jude.
Because they're just kind of there.
They're such a nice group of people.
I know, they are. Well, you know who goes to St. Jude? Haggai.
It's a good church.
But my thing is, I've never, like, there are very few. Okay, I don't hate on St. Thomas More.
That's a good church. And Father Michael. Alelo.
Yes. I don't hate on Aloysius. Don't hate on Sacred Heart. St. George hates on us first.
Harold's Ferry.
And St. Jean Vianney, they choose violence.
It's like a Dane Cook comedy show.
We had a basketball player get body slammed in a 7th grade basketball game.
Say that.
And a parent wanted to start a fight in the parking lot.
Okay, fair enough.
And their stupid churches, right? 624 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, 61 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. You know how we do it at kickoff of Wednesday morning. It's time for Legally Served with attorney Franz Borghardt.
I mean, I do like a good jumbotron or two.
625, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Yes, it's time for Legally Served. Yes, it's time to welcome in Franz Borghardt. Franz, how are you, man?
It's getting to be my favorite time of the year.
Is it?
I busted out the sweater vests and the zip-up vests.
Yeah.
As you'll recall, I have a strong love of zip-up sweater vests or zip-up fleece vests or sweater vests.
Yeah, I don't know why so many guests on this show have a vest game going. It's like they don't want their arms to exist. I don't understand it.
It's like the mullet of the business world.
It is a little bit.
Yeah. It's party on the side.
Right.
All business right there. And it's lightweight. Anyways, I'm doing pretty good. Pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Got a lot of ground to cover this morning. The Nicholas Cruz sentencing is today. We might get into that later if we have time. But there's a lot of meat on the bone from a local perspective. The stormwater utility debacle. And I don't think
Folks were misled.
Let's dive into that.
Okay.
Just from the start.
Okay.
In everything that you've looked into within the quote-unquote NDA versus gag order versus whatever, how did Andy Dodson end up where he ended up, thinking that there was something being kicked down from the EPA?
I'm going to be very deliberate and specific with
One
the
would
words
hope so,
I use.
because you're talking about another attorney.
Yeah.
And attorneys can be from time to time litigious.
One, I don't believe, based on the representations that Mr. Dodson made to the council, that there was ever a federal or state requirement of confidentiality of those discussions. So if there was a NDA, it was because someone wanted an NDA and not because of what? There was some legal requirement. In fact, the federal government, we know this from Representative Graves, said there's no law that says that you had to have an NDA or keep confidential.
Right.
Mr. Dodson told the council, the parish attorney who represents whom? The parish. And more specifically, the council, kind of.
Let's get into that part as well in a minute.
I mean, an attorney talking to his clients tells them, hey, I couldn't talk about all this stuff, or we couldn't talk about all this stuff because of this federal rule of evidence, Federal Rule of Evidence 408. But the problem is the statement of law that he told the council has nothing to do with Article 408 or an obligation to keep settlement negotiations confidential. That is not what 408 says. 408 deals with the admissibility of settlement negotiations. You can't get settlement negotiations into a courtroom. So what I'm telling you, Brian, is what he told the council was not good law.
Okay. Was it not good law in the sense that it could be easily misread? Or was it not good law in the sense that it was an easier path to take? Or was it not good law in the sense of there was another agenda?
I want you and the listeners to picture in your mind's eye a hammer. Mm-hmm. A hammer. You know what a hammer is? A hammer. And I take a hammer and I put it on the kitchen table.
There's another story about a hammer this morning, so we're going to move on.
Yeah. And I look at the hammer and I say, it's a wrench.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he did.
Yeah.
There's no way you can look at that code article and say, oh, it requires confidentiality in an NDA. No, that's not what the code article does. It simply doesn't do that. There was an NDA because someone wanted an NDA, not because there was a legal requirement. And by the way, I'm okay with the general idea of NDAs. Maybe not in this instance, but in general. And look, we are okay as a society, as a community, with certain conversations happen behind closed doors because we allow under the law what's called executive session.
Which the council went into a couple times throughout this.
Right. However, executive session is authorized by law.
Mm-hmm.
It's an option.
Yes.
408 doesn't do that. So I don't know. He's a very smart, competent attorney. I don't know why he looked at the wrench or looked at the hammer and called it a wrench.
Okay, so there's only two possibilities here as far as I can see, and I might be missing a few. So let me tee this up. We're going to hit news, traffic, and weather. We'll come back. We'll pick up the conversation there. He's attorney Franz Borghardt. We do Legally Served every Wednesday. There's only two possibilities there. Either he wanted folks to believe that the hammer was a wrench, or he did not know the difference between a hammer and a wrench.
Both are scary propositions.
One is scarier than the other, believe it or not. I'm actually at a spot right now where I'd rather be lied to than what the other possibility is. So that's where we're going to pick it up. First, let's check our CBS News, our own local news on the back end of that. Taylor's going to have traffic for you. Marissa will have our weather, and then we're going to dive right back into Legally Served. Attorney Franz Borghardt joins us every Wednesday, and that's not the only part of the stormwater utility debacle we're going to talk about. What is the difference between a gag order and an NDA? Is it as something as simple as one takes your signature and the other one is just forced upon you? We'll dive into that next as well. Right now, let's get your CBS News on Talk 107.3. I feel like sharing the thread back with the group chat.
Ray Stevens wrote a song called "Would Jesus Wear a Rolex?"
Woody?
What's up, man?
Morning.
So I'm on day 3 of a 3-day fast. I ate a whole bunch of great food this weekend in Alondra. And on day 3 of the 3-day fast, that's when you like start being able to move stuff with your mind. And you can see around the curvature of the earth and stuff. You become really like day 2, like yesterday, stomach's grumbling. I'm like miserable and all that. So very excited. I like to be able to move stuff with my mind. Okay, I can't really move stuff with my mind, but
You probably could if you really tried.
I can't believe I forgot about that Melville interview. That should have played on Halloween. Not yesterday, Monday. We'll find a spot to get it back in. Yeah, we did. But
And then I remembered Borden because I remember I had it in. I created a November folder for the Borden.
yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was cool.
What, the guy found alive in Arkansas? Yeah.
It wasn't cool that he went missing. It was cool that he was found alive.
Oh.
What the?
Did it just disappear?
No, it's because I put the traffic.
You clicked off of it.
Yeah, but I had a different. So I thought it like open differently.
Okay. I don't know what time. I'm not gonna have time to get a new number today.
you can check me out on Court TV today, Alondra, from 2 to 4. www.courttv.com. ESPN.
I'm actually not busy anymore.
Wow. It's okay, Alondra. I feel the same way. I feel the same way about listening to you.
Here.
Yo, do y'all need a hug?
No,
Like-
it's okay.
No, but,
Are you just not into criminal justice, that kind of stuff? Well, it's streaming. It's streaming. It's not TV. I mean, it could be TV. Do you listen? Do you listen to podcasts and that kind of stuff? Yeah, that Cruz hearing. Come after the defense attorneys and their kids. I love it.
I saw that.
wait, what happened?
Keith, that was a shameless plug. Good observation skills there, buddy. You really could do a podcast or a show on conspiracy theories. I think that would be so hilarious.
I was telling Brian, and then I should have somebody logical.
Like, Alondra, there's no such thing as Sasquatch. I believe there is.
Don't tell that to Dale Brown.
Do you think that we made it to the moon? I think we made it to the moon.
Do you want me to tell you like my actual opinion? I think we did, but like, there's a possibility that we did.
Isn't there like a laser thing that we can talk to from here on the moon that we left there? Tiffany says I don't have to say the W's. So when I do it, courttv.com, not www.courttv.com.
Yeah.
I'm a boomer.
I've been wondering, like, when is that just going to drop from the lexicon?
I don't know. Can we add that to the list? Thirst, moist,
And www.
WW.
Time to get a look at your forecast. Here is WBRZ meteorologist Marissa Nuzzo.
Natalie says we didn't go to the moon.
No, she doesn't.
Natalie Babin Isaacs.
No, we did not. It was staged in Hollywood. They put a studio and
Are you like, do you believe that at one point we did make it to the moon?
Renee says Court TV used to be on television. It still is.
I think the important thing is I'm on television, Renee. That's the important thing.
I just shared the link to the Facebook Live back to our group me.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Why is this woman in a... Is that up Government Street? Where is she at? 637 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Attorney Franz Borghardt in studio for Legally Served. All right, Rule 408, Franz. I got to ask, well, let me ask this. How frequently would an attorney run across Rule 408?
So 408 shields, that code of evidence, our law shields settlement negotiations. Because in a settlement negotiation, I might say, look, I know my client's at fault, but you're never going to be able to convince a jury. And then let's say we don't settle. What 408 does is it prevents you from taking my statements, my representations, my documents that are used in the settlement negotiations and giving it to a jury or a judge. In the settlement negotiation, Mr. Borghardt said X, Y, and Z. It deals with settlement negotiations and admissibility. And the reason we have that law is we want people to negotiate. We want people to try to settle stuff, and we don't want it to be held against them in a court of law if they do try to do that. It has nothing to do with concealing things from your client.
Right. How often does an attorney come across it? Is this basically an everyday thing?
It's kind of a, with all due respect to Mr. Dodson, it's kind of a common sense, commonly known thing. Most attorneys know about it. Like it's something Mr. Dodson probably has run across, or his team of lawyers that work under him that maybe advise him ran across it.
Does it vary from, let's say, state to state, court to court?
It might. The laws of its application may vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction in terms of its interpretation, but the general rule is what doesn't vary is it has nothing to do, that article has nothing to do with negotiating and concealing those negotiations or requiring an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, for negotiations. That is a misstatement of what that article does. That article, to tell the counsel that that article does that is a misstatement of law. It's a wrench, not a hammer. If you were listening to the first segment.
Yes, that's so. Yeah, I'm trying to explore every possible option to where this could have been just
You're a
very
sports guy.
simple. Yes,
You're a sports guy. Basketball's starting soon, right? Intramural basketball starting soon. It is as if I looked at a basketball game and I said, hey, this is a great baseball game. And you're like, huh? And I said, this is a really good baseball game, Brian. This is a baseball game. But we all know what? It's a basketball game.
Right. So in what world could that be misconstrued? That's where I'm trying to figure out.
I think you alluded to this in the last segment. There's two options. Either it was a mistake. Now, look, when we stand up and we talk, and you're in broadcasting and media, I'm a trial attorney. When we stand up and talk, we sometimes say stuff that it's not an intentional misleading thing. It's just we're moving at one speed,
right.
We're nervous and all that. So is it possible that he just mistook the law and said something he didn't mean? He kind of doubled down in the interview, though.
Yes.
So it's really becomes either it was an act of, and I mean this lovingly because he's really a good attorney. It was either an act of incompetence or deliberate.
Okay, if it was deliberate, what's the genesis of it? That's the harder part here. And I don't know that that's a legal question or, a question for like an investigative reporter to take on. Because if it did not come down from the federal government, which according to Congressman Garrett Graves, who called both the EPA and I believe he called DOJ as well, and they both threw their hands up in the air and said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And oh, by the way, by the letter of the law, it was not from the federal government.
Is it possible he was backpedaling to try to justify behavior retroactively? By that, I mean, they did something that wasn't required by law. And so what they're hiding behind or what they're standing behind or what they're using as a shield, whatever way you want to say it, is, oh, no, we believe that this law requires it. Well, no, it doesn't require it.
Right.
It was a choice. And that's important. I have no problem with an NDA. I have no problem with you using an NDA, but let's just all be intellectually honest with each other. It's a choice. And now you have to answer, why did you use that choice? And you can't say that this law required it because it didn't.
Okay, then the next part becomes, and we've got to get to the NDA versus gag order thing because there is a difference between the two.
Okay.
So what? Then let's go there. Is there a difference between the two?
Really, they both serve the same term in gold. Gag order is don't talk about what happens in the courtroom generally, or what happens in this room. NDA, don't disclose anything you learned from this job, from this meeting. Don't. It keeps confidentiality. It creates
They both keep confidentiality,
right.
But as I understand it, one has to be agreed to, the other one's an order.
Well, yeah, but yeah, the legal effect is the same. Yes, a gag order is a judge or someone of a judicial authority saying don't talk.
Right. So
an NDA is,
yeah, we're all going to sign this agreement. We are all on the same page, and we all agree we're going to keep this confidential.
Right.
So, but the difference there is if you say gag order, it's like you don't have a choice now. You have to shut up about this.
What are we really talking about? Are we talking about him telling the people, the community, what happened? Are we talking about him telling his clients, the council, the mayor? He is the parish attorney.
Right.
Who does he serve?
Well, that's another question here. We've run into this question on a state level quite frequently, have we not?
Mm-hmm.
When Attorney General Jeff Landry has put himself in between the
General
legislature, don't. Between the legislature and the governor, you have to ask, who does he serve? And it's come up. They're like,
well, that's an easy one, but I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to dig into General Landry.
You have a third option for that one.
He serves himself.
We were hoping to avoid that, but no, there are times where the governor and the legislature will butt heads. So the same's true here, where the mayor and the council can butt heads.
We have the mayor who says, what? I was misled.
Mm-hmm.
Who was she misled by?
The parish attorney.
Right.
Okay.
We have a council saying, hey, why didn't you tell us all this stuff? Or why did you kind of mislead us? Well, this Article 408.
Okay, but now you're peeling back another layer of the onion here, Franz.
Right.
Because if the mayor says I was misled by the parish attorney, and the Metro Council says I'm not signing an NDA that's being pushed by the by the parish attorney, then what in this or any other world would the parish attorney have to gain by pushing something misleading to the two parties that he represents?
I have no idea. Well, the two parties he represents that sometimes have conflicting interests.
Absolutely, they do.
So that is
both sides are saying no here, leaving him as a man on an island to defend something that he can't defend because there's nothing to gain by it.
I think Andy Dodson becomes a scapegoat for both sides, and I think he is, as any good scapegoat, I think he's trying to protect and serve at the same time, right? I think he's trying to protect and shield himself while simultaneously saying this is the law that why we did what we did. But the problem is that law doesn't apply. And by the way, I come back to this. If I represent you or Alondra, more likely I'm probably going to have to end up representing Alondra.
What
if I represent Alondra?
I bring her to the brink, though, man.
Yeah,
to be fair.
So I represent Alondra, and Alondra's like, hey, you went and had a settlement conversation about something. Can you talk to me about it? No, I can't talk about it. Alondra, I can't talk to you about it. Wait, what?
Right, as her attorney.
Yeah.
Right. That's unfathomable. And also not the letter of the law. Back to Andy Dodson potentially being a scapegoat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that would mean one of the two sides, be it the Metro Council or the mayor, one of the two sides would likely be throwing him under the bus. And
well, who are you going to throw under the bus? The council. Some of the council may try to throw the mayor under the bus,
mm-hmm.
but by him articulating what he did out loud and misstating the law so flagrantly, the mayor can say what? That's what he told me.
Right.
I'm not a lawyer. How do I know?
All right, I'm trying
Isn't
to
it
avoid.
interesting? Isn't it very interesting, the little party they've created, or he's created? Because if you're a constituent, you're looking at your councilman or woman and saying, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Why? You can't be, what transparency? Hello? We can have body cameras, but we can't have attorneys talking to their clients and telling them stuff? Again, if there's an operation of law, if there's a law or a precedent for, hey, we have an executive session because the law allows and requires executive session to do our job, that's one thing.
Right.
There is no law that requires what Mr. Dodson says, and to say that there is, to say that 408 requires it is a misstatement of law. I'm telling you, it is like looking at a wrench and saying, it's a hammer. It's a hammer. It's not.
So we've walked down the path of it either we're being intentionally misled, or if it was an accident, that to me is even worse, Franz.
So let me be clear. There are times that two lawyers may look at the sky and say, it's blue. No, it's shades of white and blue. No, it's a little gray. This is not an instance of zealous representation where competing lawyers are arguing against the interpretation of something. This is a blatant, flagrant misinterpretation of the law.
Right. But the genesis of it is where we're going to pick it up when we come back.
Yeah.
We're coming up on our next break. We'll check traffic. We'll check your money now. It's Legally Served. We do this every Wednesday. He's Franz Borghardt. We'll pick things back up. Oh, stick around on Facebook. We're continuing through the break.
First of all, I've never been to jail, and I've never been in a situation where I'd almost gone to jail.
Whatever.
I'm like,
So you get arrested tomorrow. Who are you going to call? Who's the first person you're calling? That's right. That's all I care about. You got me on your cell phone. Let's be honest.
actually, the first person I'm calling is my mom.
Yeah, she's going to be need to be the one who pays me.
Yeah. He wanted to lose his. Don't at least get yelled at on the phone. But I've never been in a situation where that was even a possibility. I'm a very boring person.
This is shaping up to be, and I realize we're still on Facebook, so I know I'm saying this out loud on some level of record. This is shaping up to be Andy Dodson being a dutiful soldier falling on his sword.
That's what I think he's doing. That's what I think Andy is doing. I think I would say the same. I've already said the same thing on the air. I think he's falling on a sword. He's between a rock and a hard place,
but it's going to have to come out. The mayor was misled. Okay, why was the mayor misled? Because the parish attorney got it wrong. Okay, why did the parish attorney got it wrong? The order had to come from somewhere. The order he doesn't.
He's going to really hit himself in the head with his own hammer.
Dawson and Downing did not order the code red.
I get paid no matter how many days you stay in jail. Yes, sir. I know you do, sir.
What is that?
That's from A Few Good Men. He did it first, though. He did it.
Seen that movie in a really
It's a really good movie.
It's a good movie.
It was on.
I strenuously object.
Oh, is that how it works? Oh, well, let me reconsider.
By the way, an NDA that's mandated, you have to sign it.
Yeah.
Is that really a valid contract?
No.
I mean, it's duress, right? Oh, God. Keith just said that Alondra has a thirst for Franz.
I don't.
That's so not appropriate, Keith. Come
It's
on.
not-
I respect Alondra as a woman.
It's not
She's a human.
appropriate.
She's a human being.
Yes.
I don't even know what thirst. When did
Okay.
that word become like? Why? It's such an innocent word. I'm thirsty. I want water.
Yeah. Oh, you're thirsty, are you? I don't have a thirst for Franz. I don't have a thirst for men at the moment.
Are you going the other way?
Huh?
Huh?
No, I'm not going the other way, but I
Say,
just.
okay, what?
I support. Listen, Alondra. I think the important thing is I support whatever orientation or decision you make on that front.
Well,
It's 2022.
I am straight.
I know.
It will continue to
I
be.
think you can take. I think you can take a break from dating.
Yeah.
Phrased, I'm taking a break from. In your case, I'm taking a break from men, and it not be anything more than I'm just taking a break from dating.
Yeah. It's too much at this point. Keith said now it's awkward. It's not awkward unless you make it awkward.
It's awkward.
I don't feel awkward at all.
Well,
Just go with it.
Like, now it's awkward because he said it was, but it wasn't before.
Kind of like awkward light looking at a piece of law. Awkward light looking at a piece of law and, saying it means one thing and it.
I don't know why you would say that.
Who?
Keith.
okay, what we need to do is, before we get out of here, is walk down the path of what happens next. Because there's been multiple calls for Andy Dodson to resign.
Well, who gets to hire and fire Andy Dodson? The mayor,
The
right?
Metro Council.
Well, the Metro Council, but I mean, who ultimately,
The Metro Council.
which by the way, a client can fire their attorney at will. I mean, or unless there's a contract. And even then it's,
Wow. Hey. Good morning.
Hey, Christy.
Oh, that's right. Good morning, Christy.
I had a lovely lunch on Sunday with his wife and he.
Yes.
Christy.
Christy and I, we had lunch with Franz and Natalie Sunday. It was awesome.
Not Natalie Bebb and Isaacs. The other
No,
Natalie.
different Natalie.
That's nice.
I mean, Natalie Babin seems like a nice woman.
I can't do this. 652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Continuing Legally Served with attorney Franz Borghardt. One segment to go. Franz, I've got to move the discussion over here. I think we pretty much hammered home the possibilities.
Hammered? Wrench?
Screwed? That would be the rest of us.
That's a screwdriver.
Yeah. Where do we go from here? What happens now? Because one way or another, something very egregious has gone on, whether that be incompetence or intentionality. One way or the other, something has left the rails. Where do we go?
So this is what I know. A group of council men and women went to the parish attorney's office and made a public records request. And the parish attorney's office said, we can't give this to you yet. And those council men and women were like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then I think someone realized, wait a minute, why are we making a public records request? You represent us. I'm a client. I want these documents.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. I think what will happen is there will be a council, a good old-fashioned quasi-council witch hunt. We've seen these before, right? It's kind of like a congressional hearing to try to figure out why something happened. I think that may happen, but ultimately the council may terminate Andy Dodson. And we've seen, look, every parish attorney we've had, what's the logical end of their tenure?
Well,
they get fired or removed.
I know. I just don't want to walk down the path with that level of cynicism, though.
Or he could resign.
I don't think that's going to happen because there were calls for him to resign. There was an emergency measure put on. Well, there was an attempt of an emergency measure, which if you've got an emergency item put on the agenda, all it takes is one vote to shoot it down. So emergency items don't usually fly. So there were those two things. If Andy Dodson were going to resign, it's my take. This is not fact. This is just an opinion. My take is it would have happened before last Wednesday. If he were looking to bail, it was going to happen before last Wednesday. So I'm of the opinion that he wants to weather the storm.
Sure.
Hope this goes away. At least, we move on to the next news cycle.
So let me say this. I've said some harsh things. Let me be very clear. Andy is a very capable, very competent, outstanding attorney.
Mm-hmm.
He served the city as a city prosecutor, both as a prosecutor and as the city prosecutor. He's given Baton Rouge a lot of service. Andy Dodson will be fine. He will be fine.
Oh, no, no doubt.
Yeah. Whether he stays in this position, whatever. I think what this is showing, though, is a very scary, wait a minute, who's driving the bus? That's the real concern. As an attorney, as a citizen of our I care about the well-being of our city. I mean, I'm a criminal defense attorney. I represent those accused of crimes, not necessarily guilty.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. I am concerned about who's driving this bus.
Yes.
Because I don't know who's driving this bus right now. I do not know who's driving this bus right now. Is it the council? Is it Andy Dodson? Is it the mayor? The mayor said, I was misled. The council is telling you, wait, this doesn't sound right. We want answers. Well, we can't get answers. Who's driving the bus?
But it doesn't make sense for the attorney to be the one driving the bus. If nothing else, the attorney should be the navigator on this journey. All right, let's talk about criminal defense attorneys real quick because we've got 4 minutes to go. I know.
Don't
we're
hate
forced
the
into squeeze.
player, hate the game.
Nicholas Cruz's sentencing going on, and the attorney is basically being threatened.
So let me set the stage. They're doing victim impact statements. The guy's getting life. The kid's getting life. How many consecutive life sentences is the only question. So each victim gets to stand up and make a statement, right? And some of the statements are directed at the defense attorneys, at basically shaming them for doing what they're doing, their job, and then also mentioning if you had kids, et cetera. I don't know that any of the kids were quote unquote threatened. I don't know that the defense attorneys were threatening like a real threat, like I'm going to wait in the parking lot and kill you.
Right.
However, legally it's inappropriate for the victim impact statement to go there, right?
Okay, but it's a victim impact statement. Legally, is there any legal recourse over what victims have to say?
So, yes, the judge, who's the umpire in the courtroom, who has using that phrase, has the reins, is supposed to be the one driving the bus. The judge can step in at any moment and say, Mr. Smith, with all due respect, that wonderful phrase, it's not appropriate for you to talk about the attorneys or their families. Stick with everything else.
Now, in this case, the judge jumped down the defense attorney's throat.
Yeah, because the judge, you know why the judge jumped down the defense attorney's throat? I don't know if you saw the soundbite or the video.
No, I saw the video.
You can see the video on Court TV. The judge jumped down his throat because he said, well, ma'am, they said this stuff. And she goes, well, I must not have heard it. And he says, very smart move. He goes, well, if they were talking about your family, your kids, I'm sure you would have heard it. And she loses her mind because he's talking about their kids.
Right.
Which obviously kind of proves his point, right? It was a very asinine court proceeding. She boots him out of the room,
It looked like a TV court, like a made-for-TV court.
Something you see on Court TV.
No. Way worse than that. Court TV provides analysis and insight. Yeah, commentary. I'm talking like this looked like a Judge Joe Brown moment or a what's that other one called?
Judas.
Hot Bench?
Yeah.
You ever seen Hot Bench?
That's the next move for me. Talk 107.3, Judge Franz, Hot Bench.
Hot Bench.
Yeah. So the thing is this. I understand a victim being upset with the defense attorney, but understand I have an obligation, an ethical, based on my license, I have an ethical and a constitutional obligation to defend my client zealously. And in this case, let's not mince words about this. They were trying to kill Nicholas Cruz, put him to death.
Right.
Their job is to stop that from happening.
Right.
We all may think Nicholas Cruz should be put to death.
I know I do.
Who won this one? Well, he's going away for at least one life sentence, maybe multiple. He's not being put to death.
Right. But when the vitriol moves from the defendant to the defense attorney, that's
I don't think that's okay. I don't think it's okay. I don't think canceling the defense attorney is okay.
Before we get you out of here, you are on Court TV today, right?
I am, 2 to 4 Central. Excellent. You can watch on courttv.com.
Checking in on, I believe, the Nicholas Cruz case once again? Or
talking about all sorts of legal stuff affecting the entire country all day long.
All right. Loving it. He's attorney Franz Borghardt. I appreciate the breakdown on 408 and the look inside of what's going on with this stormwater utility debacle. He's Franz Borghardt. We do this every week at about this time. Appreciate you, Franz.
Thank you.
We are taking a break for news. We'll hit the CBS World News Roundup here at the top of the hour. We'll check traffic. We'll check weather when we come back. We got top stories and trending coming your way. And Kyle Callahan is going to talk a little bit about Baton Rouge Veterans Week, which is coming up next week. We'll set the table for you there. And Congressman Garrett Graves is going to be by for DC Current this morning at 7:35. DC Current, of course, presented every installment of DC Current presented by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry Lobby, bringing you DC Current next hour. Right now, let's break it for the top of the hour. Here's the CBS World News Roundup on Talk 107.3 FM.
Oh, I might get punished for that segment. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get punished. What's the line from Notorious Bastards? I'm going to get yelled at. I've been yelled at before.
Inglorious or Notorious?
Inglorious.
I haven't seen it. Yeah.
I saw a painting yesterday with Tupac's head on an octopus, and it was called Tupactopus. Octopus.
Okay, so first of all, if anybody from the group is still watching, no river rule violation at all. How about that?
I'm like a trap, man. I'm like a steel trap.
Darn right.
I can keep things confidential without an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement.
So,
oh God,
is there a Go Rouge this week?
There's a intramural basketball game
Yeah.
at 7:30.
Which I've got to find a parent to coach James's team because
I
I'm
tr-
going to be DJing a wedding in A Meet.
You DJing?
Yeah, I got a wedding in A Meet.
So this guy's son, James, who's beautiful, beautiful little kid. Don't get mad at me because I'm talking about your son. Don't make an objection. He's the same age as my son. And they both play basketball. And I say play basketball. They're both trying to play basketball. And so every time and James is a little bit shyer than Fisher. I mean, James is a lot shyer than Fisher.
James is a little
Adorable kid, though.
antisocial.
He's
getting there.
He's getting there.
Yeah.
I don't mean that
He's
as
no
bad.
Brian
I
Haldane.
know. I'm just clarifying for the record. He's moving.
Yeah,
Like if y'all could have seen him trick or treating the other night,
He was loving it.
up.
Well, he was wearing a costume.
6 till 8. He was from 6 to 6:39, and he hit every house. Bop, 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 bop. He was dressed as Sonic and felt he had to run as fast as Sonic.
Love it.
Full tilt sprint.
So I saw James on Sunday, and I tried to say hello to him, and I think I legitimately scare Jimmy because he looked at me. He knows who I am.
Yeah.
I mean, he knows me, and he kind of went behind Christy.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen it
He
before.
does that.
I have a 7-year-old.
He
I've
does
seen it.
that.
So, anyways, I'll see you guys next week.
All right, brother. We'll see you then.
Want to say hi to the senator.
Do what? Oh, yeah.
Bill Cassidy.
Yeah. Oh, so that was kind of the peak of the social awkward.